next, I'm going to talk about the cartridges, which is probably the biggest mistake Nintendo made here, dragging their feet on this not having a CD-ROM drive. The cartridges didn't have a whole lot of memory, and compared to CDs, cartridges really flopped in that sense. They could be slightly more expensive at the time because CDs were continually getting cheaper, and also there was a lack of memory capacity. Games such as Final Fantasy VII and Dragon Quest VII were planned on the N64, pre-planned, but when Square Enix found out that there wasn't much memory capacity, they canceled the N64 development and started developing it on the Sony PlayStation. Now that doesn't mean that the N64 didn't have good games, it's just saying that it lost some development parties because it didn't have CD-ROM drive capabilities, which is definitely a big problem. Although they did come out with lots of great games from other companies, including most primarily being themselves, such as Ocarina of Time, Hudson Soft, Mario Party 3, GoldenEye 007, Super Smash Bros., Mario Kart 64, Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, all those games. A lot of the N64 games are considered classic games, and most people really enjoyed them. And I really enjoyed them at the time because I had an N64 then. I had this isn't my original one, I had a clear green one. And I actually had most of those games I just showed you there. And I really enjoyed them, and most people did enjoy those games a lot. Now as you can see here, the Nintendo 64 cartridges are a simple design, you know, don't immerse this in alcohol, blah 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 blah, don't dump it in some water, all that nonsense. It's a fairly nice looking cartridge, it's got a good sticker on the front which shows what's going on in the game, but what I really hate, nothing there. Can't tell what game it is, so it's impossible to figure out which game is which, except by picking them out of the wall. It really annoys me. But still, it's worth playing the game since all these are such great games. Alright, sorry for the cut there, but I had to put all these things together. I decided to pull out my old Nintendo controllers and compare them with the N64 controller. The N64's predecessor over here, and its successor over here. Now, first we have the Super Nintendo controller, pretty simple controller. R and L, D-pad, A, B, X, Y, start select. Fairly simple controller. Something happened between the N64 and the Super Nintendo. Here's the Super Nintendo and here's the N64. I mean, what happened? I mean, it doesn't look anything, they don't look anything alike. This one looks kind of like an X-Wing, I always kind of thought. Kind of like some sort of starship gonna go attack. You know, kind of looks like a Romulan warbird. Anyway, it has an analog D-pad, or not D-pad, an analog thumbstick, and a D-pad over here. Start, A, B, C buttons, right and left triggers, and of course your Z button, which is kind of oddly placed as well. It looks pretty weird compared to the Super Nintendo controller, and there's a pretty big difference. I find it fairly comfy. Well, you know, to hold it like that. I've seen people do this before. I don't understand that. But overall, I think it's a fairly comfy controller. It looks really odd, and there's several different ways you can really handle this controller. Now as for its successor, the GameCube controller, they kind of look alike, except the giant middle thing has been gone and the thumbstick has been moved. Replaced where the D-pad was, the D-pad got scooted down a little bit. And it's fairly similar, and there's a C stick, A and B. Now there's two more buttons, but we're not here to talk about the GameCube controller. Just saying that the N64 controller was designed fairly well, and they changed it up, made it more comfy on the GameCube, and I really like the GameCube controller. It's a comfy controller that works really well. Now for the N64 controller were several accessories, like a rumble pack, which is what we have here, or tremor pack is what it's called there. You can set it to low or high. Or you can set it to, you can also set it to save, rumble, whatever. I really don't know what save means. Maybe it's sort of like a memory card. But weird thing is, it uses batteries, which I probably need to replace. Now, also you could put on a little memory card, and this actually displays a little number here on what save block you're going to be using. and this has 32 little blocks of memory, which you could use in case you ran out of memory, say on your N64, for games that didn't have memory cards. It's pretty interesting. You press this button and you light up the number, and you can actually delete saves by only turning on your N64. It's quite interesting. Now this part goes into the Rumble Pack, and you can have yourself a Rumble Pack that has a memory card attached to the bottom, and I doubt I'm putting this together correctly. There we go. And then you attach that to the bottom of your N64 controller. And oh my, you have a giant monstrosity. It feels pretty weighted down at the bottom, but it actually bends the controller towards you a little bit more, or bends the controller, the bottom here, bends it up a little bit, so that your thumb better gets the D-pad. I think that the controller feels pretty good with the Rumble Pack on. It feels a little awkward at first, but you'll get used to it, and eventually you'll like it. Alright, now before we finish this review, that is it for the technical review. Now I'm going to do a quick little overview on what the system plays like, and what the games look like. Alright, here we go with the gameplay review. Well, not really review, but it's more like, here's what the games look like. Like, here's Mario Kart. Everybody's seen Mario Kart 64. It's one of the most popular games on the N64. I remember back in the day when I got this for Christmas. That was really fun. I was so excited I forgot to put the game into the slot, and started complaining about why the game wasn't working. But then I realized that, oh whoops, I forgot to put the game in the slot. So I was pretty excited to get this game. It's a really good game, but it does show off some of the graphical capacity of the N64. You can see that the hats of Mario and Luigi look pretty smooth, and that for the most part, the graphics are pretty good. Now there's a couple things I left out of the normal review, like, I think you should buy this system. My answer to that question would be, if you don't have this system, why do you not have it? It's an amazing system which has plenty of great games for everybody of every age. It has games anywhere from for little kids to adults. I mean, it has all the way E from M. It has a full range of games. And most people, or from what I've heard from several of my friends, is that this console they've nicknamed the party console. Lots of people would bring this to, like, if you have a bunch of friends over, all the friends would play this game. Because it's such a great system to play. I mean, you've got 4 players, it's got some really good 4-player action, and generally when I have 4 friends over, or 3 other friends over, we all play Mario Party 3. Or some other game, one of these other games, like Mario Kart. Because they're so much fun to play. A lot more fun than, say, Modern Warfare 2. I mean, it's difficult to play that with 4 people and not get angry. But even if you lose in Mario Party 3, it's still kind of fun to play. Now here is 007 GoldenEye, one of the first-person shooters to really set the standard for first-person shooters. It kind of shows the graphical capacity as well. I mean, look, 3D environment, things look cool. But wait, no, game's over. Okay. Yeah, Tommy killed me, but that's okay. Or Tim Muffins Man, for all of you who don't know him personally. Alright, now on to Banjo-Tooie, which I was talking about earlier in the review. And I talked about how the graphics, there were put a bunch of little textures together to put together a giant texture to save graphics RAM. Like, look at the witch right there. You can see she's made up of a bunch of little textures, or see the wall in the background. It's made up of a bunch of little textures. It makes it look kind of crooked, but it's definitely really big. Or the ground you can see here, it's huge. That's because it's a bunch of different textures, but it's the same texture put together to look like one giant texture, and that definitely saves a lot of graphical RAM. This is also one of my favorite game series, which I really think they kind of screwed up recently. It was a really fun game to play back in the day, but I haven't played the new one. I saw a little bunch of stuff on TV, and on the internet about it. It didn't interest me at all. But now, at this point, we're at the old games, the old versions, I like it. Now in just a minute I'm going to take a look around at the world, so you can kind of see what it looks like. You can kind of see as I'm going around in the area here, that you can see the giant squares of texture of grass, in this particular case. Or the giant textures of the blue stripes on the tent. There's a bunch of little things put together to look the same, as you can clearly see there.